The rain was relentless, drumming against the windshield of her old sedan like it had a personal grudge. Claire Dawson gripped the steering wheel tighter, blinking away the tears that blurred her vision. 42 years old, divorced, and now jobless, she was driving home from yet another interview that ended in a polite rejection. The gas light had been glaring at her for miles, but what truly terrified her wasn't the empty tank. It was the gnawing emptiness in her chest. Bills stacked on the kitchen counter, her daughter Emily's tuition looming overhead, and her aging mother's medical prescriptions, everything felt like it was crashing in at once. As she pulled off the highway, the car coughed, sputtered, and finally rolled to a pitiful stop in front of a dimly lit auto shop. Claire let her forehead fall against the steering wheel. She whispered to herself, "I can't do this anymore." But life has a way of sending angels in unlikely forms. The garage door creaked open, and out stepped a young man no older than 24 with grease-stained hands and a smile that was far too bright for the gloomy night. "Hey there," he called gently, "car trouble?" Claire quickly wiped her tears, embarrassed. "It just died like everything else in my life." She hadn't meant to say it out loud, but exhaustion had stripped away her guard. The young man paused, then crouched by her window. "My name's Jake, don't worry, ma'am, we'll get you back on the road." He pushed the car into the garage himself, his lean frame working harder than seemed possible. Claire sat on a stool, staring at him in disbelief. Most mechanics she had met were brusque, transactional, but Jake asked her questions not just about the car but about her. Did she need water? Did she want to sit somewhere warmer? And when she couldn't stop the tears from rolling, he didn't look away. Instead, he said softly, "You're carrying too much. My mom used to say, when the world feels heavy, sometimes all you need is someone to help hold the weight for a while." Something in Claire cracked open. She found herself telling him everything: the failed interviews, the empty savings account, the fear of losing her home. She didn't even know why she trusted him. Maybe because his eyes didn't hold pity, only respect. After an hour of tinkering, Jake wiped his hands and gave her the news. "Your fuel pump's shot. It's gonna cost more than you probably want to hear." Claire's face fell. I just can't right now." Jake hesitated, then leaned against the counter. "Ma'am, listen, I know what it's like to feel stuck. When my dad passed, my mom worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. People in this town helped us, neighbors, strangers, folks who didn't have much themselves. I swore if I ever had the chance, I'd do the same." Before she could protest, he added, "I'll cover the part, you don't owe me anything." Claire's mouth fell open. "Jake, I can't let you." But he stopped her with a raised hand. "You can, and maybe one day you'll help someone else when they think they're helpless." For the first time in months, Claire laughed through her tears. Over the next few days, while Jake worked on her car, something remarkable happened. He introduced her to customers who came by the shop, telling them, "This is Claire, she's one of the strongest people I've met." Word spread. A woman offered Claire a temporary bookkeeping job. Another mentioned an opening at a local nonprofit. By the time Jake handed her the keys back, Claire wasn't just driving away with a repaired car. She was driving toward a new life. A week later, she landed a steady job at the nonprofit. With her first paycheck, she returned to Jake's shop. She tried to press an envelope of money into his hands, but he shook his head firmly. "Keep it, pay a bill, or better yet, take your daughter out to dinner. Remind her that no matter how hard things get, there's always hope." Claire hugged him then, something she rarely did with strangers, but Jake didn't feel like a stranger anymore. He felt like family. Months passed. Claire began to rebuild her finances, her confidence, her sense of worth. She volunteered on weekends, just as Jake had encouraged. One evening, she saw a young woman sitting outside the food pantry, her eyes filled with the same hopelessness Claire once carried. Without thinking, she sat beside her and said, "I know how heavy the world feels right now, but sometimes all you need is someone to hold the weight with you." It was Jake's words, now hers. Claire realized then she hadn't been helpless at all. She had just needed someone to remind her that kindness could spark light even in the darkest night. And because one young mechanic chose compassion over profit, an entire chain of hope had begun. Sometimes the greatest changes in our lives don't come from grand gestures or perfect plans. They come from ordinary people who see us at our lowest and choose kindness anyway. And when that happens, it's not just one life that changes, it's many. Because kindness, like a spark, doesn't stop where it begins, it spreads.